Welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast. I am your host, Nick, and today we are going to talk about removing the overwhelm when it comes to meeting your goals, getting back on course, turning the ship around, getting in shape, whatever September is planned to look like for you, whether it's getting back on board or whether it is starting your fitness journey from a clean slate. Today's episode, we are talking remove the overwhelm, and let's actually get clear on what that takes. I put a post up at the weekend, top 10 reminders, powerful reminders to change the way that you think, especially if you are a woman over 40. And I'm going to use that as the framework for today's episode. We're not going to go through the entire 10 with context, although I will go through all 10. But there's just a couple of points that I want to just add a little bit of context around, ladies, because I'm speaking to more and more women who are starting to feel really overwhelmed at where to begin and how to stay consistent and how to actually live a life, balance weekends versus weekdays, fit the training in, make the nutrition work. The more information that we seem to have, the more overwhelming it feels. And the more information that we've got, the more women are staying stuck, the more of you are actually struggling because it's creating stress, it's creating overwhelm, and it's overcomplicating a pretty simple process. The healthy, fit, thriving lifestyle is a simple process, but it does require putting your blinkers on. It requires showing up. And it, first of all, before anything, requires on getting clear of the direction that you want to go in. So without further ado, let's get into it. These powerful reminders, I hope, will alter the way that you think. I always say this as a coach, and I remember a coach said it to me years ago, and it did alter the way that I thought. And he said to me, if I can change the way that you think, that is job done, because the lifestyle, the habits, the behaviours, the actions that you take, they are all a byproduct of the way that you approach any situation, the way that you think about your training, you think about your nutrition, you think about the indulgent meal or whether or not you're going to show up. The way that you think impacts the way that you live, and the way that you live determines the outcome. And so, number one, and this is a pretty powerful one, ladies, this is straight talking today, is that you are in control of the effort that you put in at all times. Like, we've got to just be brazen on this one. You are in control of the effort that you put in and day out. But I think where the nuance lies and what we've got to get really clear on and accepting of is that your 100% is not going to look the same every day. Your 100% on a day when you're back to back in meetings, and then you've got to pick the kids up and you've got to take them to their clubs, and then you get home and you cook dinner, and before you look, it's 8:30 and you've still not sat down. Your 100% on that day is going to look different to the 100% day when you're working from home, you've got the chance to go to the gym, you can get out for a walk at lunch, you can put the dinner in the slow cooker because you work. Like, those are two totally different days. And so your 100% on each of those days is going to look different. But the amount of effort that you put in on any given day, that's on you. That is on you. And I think when we can embody that and acknowledge that, I think that's powerful. I think because it's not push harder. It's not the more effort that you make, the faster you'll get to the reward or the effort, the harder that you push. That's not it. That's old mindset. This is a new conversation that we're having here. We are talking about we need to take care of ourselves. And so the effort that we put in sometimes is going to be the effort to take a step back, the effort to turn off our notifications, the effort to just get out on the grass and ground or walk, the effort to cut ourselves some slack. Like, absolutely. The effort behind our nutrition and our training matters, really matters if you want to get in great shape. But the effort to take care of yourself, that is what it comes down to. We'll get into, what that looks like in its entirety. Number two, the daily dose of outdoor movement, whether it's a 10-minute walk or more, will do more to regulate your central nervous system than any supplement that you are taking. Everybody wants to talk about supplements. Everybody wants to know the best supplement to help you sleep, to stay regulated, to manage your digestion, to manage your cravings. That little daily dose of getting outside is going to help regulate your nervous system more than any supplement. That's not to say that the supplements don't work, but start here. Don't neglect it. Let's not convince ourselves that we need to spend money to help ourselves regulate when we are not getting outdoors, we're sitting on our phones till all hours of an evening and we're drinking caffeine past 3 p.m. Like, we're not helping ourselves. No amount of supplement, no amount of paying into any particular brand is going to undo some of those habits that we're putting ourselves into. Number 3, and this is such an important one, and if we can cut a corner on this, we will try to, I know it, but whether it's convenient or whether it's not, the protein has got to be part of the conversation. Getting enough protein in, not one day of the week, ladies, not even like 3-4 days of the week, consistently, day to day to day, is going to transform your energy levels. It's going to transform your body. It's going to improve your fat loss or accelerate your fat loss. It's going to improve muscle maintenance. When we talk about that lean, strong aesthetic, and I get questions quite a lot on how to know if you're pushing yourself in the gym, or maybe how to improve recovery. A lot of this comes down to nutrition. A lot of the time I get questions, and my first question back, I'll often answer the question with a question, which I know is very annoying, but it's never like just a one-word answer. It's always, okay, well, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Because if you're not doing those 3, then that's where you'd start. And for a lot of the questions that I get asked, and for a lot of you who are wondering where to begin with nutrition, start with getting enough protein consistently. Ideally, complete protein sources. So that's going to be your meat, your fish. Making sure that you can get enough in consistently on a daily basis is the best way to reduce cravings, stay satiated, and actually reduce food noise. Not to mention the aesthetics that come as a byproduct. It took me a while to learn this. You see the way I'm saying? Like, if we can cut corners, we will. I, for years, was like, okay, I haven't hit my protein today, but I've stayed within calories, so... And I was just on this cycle of like, I was slim. I still, on paper, was the dress size, but it was like that skinny fat, you know? I don't know whether you'd call it skinny fat because I've always lifted the weight, but I was just in that position where, you know, when you're like, no, I'm looking and that's not the outcome that I want. And it wasn't until I started prioritising protein regularly that I could actually see muscle definition in my legs, and I could see the muscle definition, and I could feel that difference in, you know, when you want to feel firm and strong and all of the things. So take it from me. If you want a lean, strong body, you want to accelerate fat loss, you want to go into the next couple of months as we wind down to close the year, and you don't want to be eating like a sparrow. Like, you actually want to be eating good food, be able to do it consistently, reduce the food noise, build that mental, physical capacity to stay resilient, then make sure the nutrition's on point by starting with protein first. Number 4, powerful reminder, steps are your best friend for fat loss, ladies. And so, however many you're doing at the moment, if you know that you want to drive that little bit of extra fat loss, just look to increase slightly. And it can be the smallest thing. I know you've heard me speak about this before. Park at the back of the car park. Take the escalator instead of taking the stairs. Park a little bit further away from school pickup or the clubs or whatever it is. But those little extra moments throughout the day, they start to compound, they start to build, and they become habits. So over the course of the weeks and the months and the year, those little moments of extra movement really start to add up, and it is the movement that accelerates fat loss, the consistent daily movement. Number 5. So I reframed this one because I wanted to talk about the importance of sleep, because it is so valuable. And I think when it gets back to September, I think one thing that we can all bring back into our routine is hopefully our sleep schedules. I know my girls have been going to bed really late, and then it leaves less hours for us mums, because by the time the kids go to bed, then we want to go to bed at a reasonable hour. So that window of time to get organised and tidy away and maybe have 5 minutes to ourselves, God forbid, like that just becomes smaller. But when the kids do go back, when we're back in September, and again, if you're listening to this and you haven't got kiddos, but you've just been in that summer mode, one of the things that I would absolutely think about just getting back on course with is your sleep. Because if you are going to be able to adhere to the diet, show up for the training sessions, stay calm and regulated in the meetings, be able to coach yourself through stressful situations. And I say coach yourself because you can have a coach in your corner, you can have all of the strategy under the sun, but when you get in that room or you're in that stressful situation, it's on you. It's on you in that moment to put everything that you know into place and actually exercise it and follow it through. And our ability to do that, a lot of the time, it comes down to, have we got the capacity? But that is built during sleep. Now, if you've got little ones, and this is where I've reframed this a little, if you've got little ones, it's not always easy. But what I will say is the game changer is the hour that you spend before bed. So we talk about, we can't always improve, or we can't always add extra hours of sleep. Some of us can. We've just got to be honest with ourselves that it can happen. We can turn Netflix off earlier. But for a lot of you, if you're up in the night or, your sleep is disturbed, just making sure that the hour before bed is actually spent winding down, and it's not spent scrolling on your phone. I can't tell you the difference that will make. But that is one of the hardest hours of the day to coach yourself, in inverted commas, because willpower is spent, mental energy normally is spent, depending on how bedtime went, whether it was stressful or otherwise. Like, all of these things can impact whether or not you showed up for yourself today. Like, if you get to the end of the night and you didn't eat the way that you said you were going to, you missed your gym session, your steps haven't been met, or any of the variables that you're trying to put into place have not been met, it's easy at that point to think, you know what, I'm just going to have a little scroll, get a little bit of cheap dopamine, make myself feel better, and I'll start again tomorrow. Use that hour before bed to genuinely wind down. Whatever that looks like for you. It might be getting things organised for the following day, getting your gym kit out, getting your lunch made, making the lunches for the kiddos or whatever it might be. It might be cleaning down your kitchen and actually just taking some pride in the fact that you're going to go to bed and you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to have a nice, clean, happy household. But don't spend it scrolling, because that will disrupt your sleep 100%. Number 6, and I'll say this for around menstrual cycle, but I think you all know me well enough. And if you're new to the podcast, my stance is alcohol in our 40s no longer agrees with us. And so we've got to be thoughtful. We've got to think about, if you want to get to your goals, if you want to get back in the driver's seat, if you want to accelerate, if you want to make this a lifestyle, I think alcohol consumption, we've got to start thinking about how can I take from the low-hanging fruit here, because it is the low-hanging fruit. Like, if we can remove the weekend drinks or the sporadic glass of wine midweek, then it's easy to do, but it makes such an impact. But for the purpose of today's point, I do want to stress that alcohol around menstrual cycle is genuinely like putting gas on an open fire. It is gaslighting yourself and your hormones, essentially. So when we're on our cycle, we know this lovely cortisol hormone, and to touch on the cortisol hormone, this stressor hormone, it's naturally elevated. So we're feeling all the feels, we're feeling a little bit more on edge, we're feeling a little bit more anxious, and cravings are increased a little bit, and it's this stressor hormone. And a lot of the time, the stress default for a lot of women is to have the glass of wine. But it's heightening everything, and it is disrupting your sleep, and it is going to heighten that hormone, and it is going to heighten those cravings. And so although it feels like the stress response in that moment, it's such a double-edged sword. And so again, if you approach the month of September and you want to get in the mindset of this is going to be a lifestyle, then we've got to start thinking about, okay, so maybe removing alcohol completely in its entirety in month 1 is too much. That's too much all at once. But around menstrual cycle, I am going to be really disciplined, because I want to be able to get in and want to get out of this phase. I don't want to be sat in it for a week, suffering, struggling with cravings and low energy and feeling sluggish and feeling bloated. I want to get out the other side, in and out. So I'm going to make sure that I hit my fibre goal, I hit my protein goal, I get my daily steps, because that fresh air and that general movement's going to support you. And I'm definitely not going to be reaching for alcohol, as stressed, as spent, or as tired as I feel. Number 7, this for me is a biggie. You know the way I say there's a couple here that I want to give extra context to. You cannot control the opinions of others, ladies. And so if you're going to start this September, or you're going to start today, maybe you're listening to this mid-August and you're like, no, this is for me today. Like, this is the clean slate starts now. Can't control the opinions of others. I will say this until the cows come home. You cannot worry what anybody else is thinking about whether or not you're drinking the alcohol, whether or not you're taking your lunch prepped into work, whether you're missing out on the socialising after work to go to the gym, whether or not you're going out to get your steps at lunchtime, Whether or not you are rocking up to the restaurant and asking for something a little different and being what we perceive as a little bit awkward, because guess what? I don't want the butter all over the meat. Can you put it on the side? And can I ask for the jacket potato instead of the fries? And this is such a simple example, but I had a client say to me last week, she was like, it's just that whenever I go anywhere, I don't want to be awkward. I don't want to feel like I'm being fussy. I don't want to put people out. And I was like, there's got to be a point where we stop caring what other people think. Like, there just has to be. You cannot control what others think. And a lot of the time, they're not thinking anything. They are genuinely, a lot of the time. You've got to think about you in that position. I was actually saying this to the kids at the weekend. We were at the zoo and we were acting daft. The way, if you ever see me in public, don't judge. We were acting daft, and me and his daughter are always just going for it. Penelope's now getting to that age where she's starting to be a bit self-conscious, and she's like, guys, people are looking. And I was like, we were just dancing, by the way. And I was like, no, they're not. No one's looking. No one cares. I was like, everybody is too busy having their own fun. And if they are looking, so what? They might be looking thinking that looks fun. And if they're not thinking that, like, at the end of the day, who cares? And even to my 8-year-old, just trying to like reinforce that. It's a complete shift in mindset, and it is hard to move away from worrying about the judgment of others. But I see that starting now in my 8-year-old. And as a coach, obviously I work with women who still struggle with that until this day. And I have definitely 100%. I know that I still do. Like, we all care what people think, don't we? We all care what people think of how we look, what we say or don't say, or whatever it might be. But when it comes to getting after your goals on any level, ladies, can we just all put our hands in and give a little bit less of a FCUK? I nearly said it then. What other people think, because we can't control it. And if it's going to stop us and it's going to set us back from getting to our goals, then who's missing out there? Because people are going to judge either way. But I think the big reminder is, half of the time, they're not judging. We've built this whole story up in our minds of what everybody else is going to think, and no one cares. And guess what? If you get out the other side and you do make this a lifestyle and you do get to achieve those goals, what difference is that going to make for your life? What difference is that going to make to your kids' lives, to how you show up as a wife, as a mum? What difference will it make to the path that you take in your career? What difference will it make to the way that you experience the day-to-day? And if the difference will be everything, then we definitely can't be letting what other people think about us hold us back. We've got to go for it. We've got to go for what we want, and we've got to care less about the opinions of others. And where I would start on this one is just with awareness. Just bring that awareness to, like, why am I not doing that? Why am I not willing to suggest a certain restaurant that we're going to eat at? Why do I feel like I'm not going to be able to not drink this weekend? Because I'm worried that everybody else is going to have something to say. Like, just bring awareness to where it's holding you back, and then we can take the action. We talk about this a lot inside of Thriving Women, actually, because we talk about finding your people. And sometimes you're surrounded by women, men, just people that you've been friends with for as long as you can remember. But you now are ready to do things differently. You're ready to take on a different lifestyle or different hobbies or have that different mindset. You want to move away from this constant negative cycle, and it can feel challenging. And sometimes you've just got to have these little pockets in different communities like Thriving Women where you are surrounded by the women that just get it. Like, they just get that this matters to you, or this was a huge win, or this is a current struggle, or I need advice on this and it sounds so silly, but can anybody help? And it's like, it doesn't sound silly inside of our community. We are actually the women. If anyone is going to get it, we get it. So ask away, share the win, share the struggle, because this is your people. The difference that will make. Because it's just like that constant reassurance of like, oh, okay, I'm not doing this alone. And we shouldn't be. We absolutely should not be doing it alone. Number 8, big one, and I know that you all have heard me say this, but lifting the heavier weights, ladies, especially over the age of 40, it's not a non-negotiable anymore. It is genuinely, it's our insurance policy for the long term, the long game. Think about, if we're in our 40s, think about what we want to get out of the other side of this decade, okay? We want to try and get out the other side of menopause, and a lot of you are in the throes of this right now, and some of you are already out the other side. We want to get out the other side unscathed as best that we can. I was chatting with one of the mums from Penelope's like school group the other day. So we met up with all of the kids And we were just chatting, one of the mums was saying, like, she'd done this like activity thing with her kiddos, and she was like, me 2 years ago would have been fine. Me now, I was blowing up my arse. She said, I just found it so challenging. And she was like, it's hormones, and she's of an age where she's like right in the thick, and she's in the throes of like perimenopause. And I was like, I have got no doubt that there's a roller coaster ahead. Like, there's a shitstorm, I think I said, possibly ahead. And so at this point now, I'm just trying to be as proactive as possible, like, so that hopefully we get in and we get out the other side. I'm not saying we're not going to feel the impact. Of course we are. It's going to change us, ladies. It's going to change who we are as women. Going through perimenopause and going through menopause, and this is quite an emotional thing to say, it's going to change who we are as women, because I believe part of going through perimenopause is learning to understand yourself all over again, because it's like an evolution for a lot of women. It's such a pivotal moment in our life. And for a lot of women, like, you'll hear them say, like, life begins at 40. Life begins when I get out the other side of this, because I no longer give a shit. I am ready to do me and let go of limiting beliefs and all of the things, because all of a sudden you've gone through this monumental change. And I've gone off on a complete tangent there, but one of the things that I am absolutely doing, and I would advocate to you all in this sort of like preparation for this decade and for this decade and beyond, is lifting heavy weights. Non-negotiable, absolute non-negotiable. If you train from home, it is a little bit more challenging, because you can't do the likes of the bigger exercises, maybe, unless it's a home gym, like the likes of your leg press and your overhead pull down, and some of the exercises where you can really crank the weight up. However, wherever you are training, just lifting weight and holding tension and resistance against your muscle, and actually actively seeking to build muscle in our 40s it's a non-negotiable. It's our insurance policy. And so regardless of how you feel when you get in the gym, like, I'm just going to do spin, do HIIT, drop the body fat, and then I'm definitely going to start building, like, lifting weights. Nope, that is old school mentality. New school mentality is, I'm going to lift the weight, I'm going to walk plenty, and I'm going to let everything else take care of the fat loss. But lifting weight is now a non-negotiable. If you're wondering where to start, by the way, with a weightlifting program, little side note, and you're not inside of the Thriving Women free community, there is a template in there for your gym workouts and for your home workouts. Now, it's your basic standard plan, but it's a free download. And I've just said at the beginning of the episode, hands up if you're bloody sick of free downloads. But if you're inside of Thriving Women and you're going to choose to invest your time and your energy anywhere, stick with us. Stick with us. And if you need a starting point for your workouts, go and sign up for the free community. The link is in the show notes below. It's also in the bio on my Instagram. Go and download the meal planner, the snack ideas, the high protein options, and your workouts. And there are your templates. The hardest next part is sticking to that when there's a shiny object put in front of you. But if you can stick and stay consistent and start to build a routine, lifting weights, then that is one of the most brilliant and fundamental things that you will do. Number 9 and number 10, ladies, turn the volume up on this. Save this episode, come back and listen to number 9 and number 10 frequently and often, because you are going to have to remember these two throughout the course of the next couple of weeks and months, 100%. First of all, number 9, cortisol doesn't care how clean you are eating. If you are wired day in and day out, your results are going to stall. And if you struggle with this, like, body fat around your tummy, particularly because that's where, you've heard that term, maybe stress belly or cortisol belly. But if you are struggling with this area where you carry body fat, then even more important, we need to manage this stress hormone. The stress hormone inherently is not bad in itself. We've got it for a reason. It's an important part of our makeup. But nowadays, it is being stretched. The bandwidth on this stressor hormone is just being spent. And honestly, it's a kicker in the teeth, because sometimes it genuinely doesn't matter how clean you're eating and how well you're doing all of the other things if you are constantly wired. And what I see with a lot of women, and I've also done this myself, we almost chase that feeling of being wired, and it comes from the caffeine, doesn't it? It's like that buzz of, like, but you feel wired, so you feel like you can power through, and so then we chase more of that feeling, but it's keeping us stuck. And so managing your stress through your sleep, through getting out for that 10 minutes of a walk, making sure that you eat enough protein because that's going to help you stay better regulated, looking at your digestion and your gut health, like all of these little things, all of the points that I've made on today's episode, they all come back full circle. It's all part of the ecosystem. If you're inside of Thriving Women, you'll know that there's 5 pillars that we look at, and no one is really more important than the other. We're looking at your nutrition, we're looking at your training, we're looking at your mindset, but we're also looking at your sleep and we're looking at your stress management, because they are the 5 pillars that it's going to take in order to thrive. And at any given time, there's always one that kind of needs adjusting, always. That's why we're always in motion, we're always in play. That's why it takes effort to even maintain. But we've got to pay attention to these 5 pillars. And then number 10 is a bit of a stark reminder, but it is that your metabolism is not broken. Your metabolism is flexible. It's not broken. So if you're struggling to drop body fat because you've got a slow metabolism, or so you have convinced yourself, know that your metabolism is not broken. It's flexible. It's actually built to adapt. It's built to speed up and it's built to slow down to protect you. And so maybe the reframe on this is not that my metabolism is broken, but it's maybe I am overestimating the amount that I'm eating versus the amount that I am moving, the amount of energy that I am taking in versus the amount of energy that I am spending. And the reminder for us women in our 40s, and especially if you're of a smaller frame. So I'm only 5'2". I said this to a client the other day. I was like, it's a bit of a kicker, but us women who are like 5'2", 5'3", we don't need as many calories as we would like to think. We don't need the mountain of food the way our husband does, because we're only a small frame and we're in our 40s. So naturally our metabolism starts to slow a little in this decade, and then that's it. Then it slowly, very, very slowly declines as the years go on. That's okay. There's things that we can do to work with this and to help strengthen and protect our metabolic rate. But those things, it's not an injection. It's not a crazy 6-week plan or a crazy restrictive diet. It's lifting weight. It's eating enough protein. It's prioritising steps over this sporadic, just, whatever the next trend is. It's genuinely taking care of ourselves, protects our metabolism, because it gives our body a sense of reliability, and our body will begins to expect, it knows that you're going to train, it knows that you're going to eat well, it knows that you're going to replenish, it knows that you're going to hydrate, and so it will perform optimally off those expectations. And that's where the metabolic rate, that's the rate at which your body burns body fat, ladies. This is the sweet spot for all of us, isn't it? Like, we all want to know, how do I get to the point where I can, last week I spoke on, we always want to get to the point where we can eat as much as possible and still progress. And it's like, how do I get to that point? Well, you've got to give your body, it's almost like an insurance policy. You've got to give your body that expectancy, because when you can create a rhythm and a routine with yourself, which is what we're trying to do. Like, you've heard me talk about this, I'm sure, if you've listened to the podcast for long enough. Like, your results are built on systems, not just what you do sporadically. But once we can get into a rhythm and a routine, that's where your body's going to listen up and go, okay, we know she's taking care of herself. We know she's going to eat well. We're in a good, consistent routine here. So yeah, we can afford to burn body fat for fuel. And we can do that consistently. And so this metabolic rate starts to increase. And the rate at which you burn body fat starts to increase. And so your results, the more consistent you are, the more momentum that you build. And so it's a waiting game. It's having the patience. It's having the determination to knuckle down for those first, however many weeks it takes. It's different, person dependent. And then you see that momentum start to build. And I hope that these 10 points have served as decent reminders for today, ladies, that if you are ready to get in the driver's seat in the month of September, you don't need bells and whistles. You need clarity. You need absolute clarity on where you want to get to, what's going to need to change, what do you need to put into action, what might you need to even remove in order to get to this goal. Let's get really clear on that. Is that going to fit into your lifestyle? Is this going to be doable? Are we going to be able to sustain this during weekends? Are we clear on what this is going to look like on the days when we are back to back in meetings and we've got clubs of an evening? Are we going to be able to build in a little bit of convenience and lifestyle and flexibility here and still get to our goal. And once we're clear on that, then it's just about showing up and putting it into action. And if you know that you're going to need accountability, support, you want to be part of a community, you want to plan, you want to program, you want to check in with a coach, you want that progressive training, you want to see what the next phase is going to look like, then come and join us inside of Thriving Women. The group coaching, our evergreen program, group coaching, doors are open now. And the applications for one-to-one coaching, I'm also taking them in now, ladies. There won't be any more one-to-one coaching spots open until the month of September, but I would absolutely welcome you to drop me a message. Give me a shout if you don't know where you want to start. You don't know whether it's one-to-one or group. You don't quite know what you need. But you just know that the sounds of this, removing the overwhelm, getting into incredible shape, ending this year strong, and doing it with a flexible approach is exactly up your street. Then come and join us. And I will look forward to catching you all on the next episode of the Fit and Unfiltered podcast.